this is Deanna and welcome to another video. Today we are reading chapter 5 of Hermitcraft Mayhem, which we will dive back into other stuff. We're just diving right back into the story, going into Impulse's perspective and seeing where it goes from there. Shall we? Impulse stared up at the plain white ceiling. He hadn't gotten much sleep, with the headband acting up at any time he tried to reach his friends. He'd been so close. He'd been able to reach Jem and Scar before the guard pulled him away into a cycle of nightmares and memories that weren't his own. He vaguely remembered waking up in the middle of the night screaming a few times. "Nobody won't let you get away with this," an unfamiliar voice jeered in his mind. It was a new guard, no doubt, swapped every 3 hours to keep their minds alert and fresh. The hermit guessed, and so that he couldn't wear them down. Impulse swallowed as the words sank in. Sure, he knew Gerald was very capable of hurting his friends, but all that would be much harder now, right? Wasn't that the point of why he recreated it? So that their enemies couldn't just waltz in from the back door? Yeah, Rob had done it, no problem, without any warning. Impulse closed his eyes and sighed. At least Scar was okay. Impulse and his kids had gotten there pretty quickly. The men hadn't gotten to do much. He heard Skiz. A lump formed in his throat as he pushed the thought aside. His best friend was okay. Everyone was okay. They were okay enough to try and find him in the dream world. And they had even only for a moment. "I won't have any left when I'm done." Gerald's smug smile filled his mind as Impulse groaned, forcing his eyes open as he sat up in his cot. He already felt sore sleeping in such a hard, flat surface. Why couldn't these guys at least give him a bed to sleep on? This wasn't fair. What do you think the cause does to their prisoners? The voice murmured. Impulse shook his head. "You could talk to me, you know. I'm right here," Impulse demanded at the closed door on the other side of the room. It was those spots. Either the guard was intentionally ignoring him, or he couldn't hear him. Was it possible? What was stopping him from just leaving quietly through a tunnel system? You know exactly what would happen. The guard warned, as the headband crackled to life. Hermit flinched as little sparks tickled his forehead, scorching his hair. He could smell the faint scent of smoke. "You're not getting out of this until we tell you." "We'll see about that," Impulse muttered, shaking his head, crossing his arms. His stomach growled. Then, as he glanced over at the table, nothing. What did he expect? Didn't give him dinner. Maybe Gerald had wanted him to starve to death. That wouldn't be very fun, now would it? The guard teased. "Stop reading my mind!" Impulse rose to his feet quickly, clenching his fists tight at his sides as he glared at the door. "We're much better trained to deal with your mental tricks now," the guard mused. "Is that a challenge?" Impulse snapped, marching to the bars. The room was still empty. He couldn't see any sign that someone was watching him. But knowing Campbell's, there were probably hidden cameras. But would he help Conover and Richard to that extent by giving them those gadgets? And why was Conover on Richard's side anyway? Weren't they supposed to be enemies? "Enemy of my enemy is my friend. Ever heard that one?" the guard asked. Impulse gritted his teeth. "Do you want me to have a reason to blast you?" "Your kind is so fun to mess with when there's nothing you can do to stop it." "I'm not afraid to try," Impulse warned. A laugh filled his mind. Go ahead, see what happens. Richard's been busy. I'll give you that. Great. Though the headman did have some regrets. A small trickle of curiosity tickled him. What would happen if he tried? Would it be like a wall, blasting it back at him like before? He'd still managed it, though. Was the technology improved? Did he want to know? Yeah, that's more like what he wants to see. Gerald? Impulse glared at the door, as if he expected it to open at any moment. I'm not afraid of him. Even though he knows your weakness. An image flickered into his mind. He was in the middle of a forest, surrounded by people. No, not just people. People he knew. Friends. A sickening feeling squashed the hope that sparked as he saw the expressions on their faces. Disappointment, anger, sadness. No, this wasn't real. This wasn't real. Impulse tried to shake the image from his mind as he heard voices bombard his head like spears aimed directly at his heart. Why would you do this? How could you? We trusted you. How could you turn your back on us? I thought you were our friend. No! Stop! Impulse covered his ears, but of course that didn't help. He shook his head, trying to fight back the image as tears burned in his eyes. Please, stop! Not so defiant now, are we? Shut up! Impulse yelled, whirling away from the door, running to the corner of his cell. He had to fight back the horrible nightmare. No matter how hard he tried to think of a good memory, or his friends, the words and faces only pulled him back. Help me, please. Impulse stumbled onto his knees, pressing his head against the wall. The image was more clearer now, becoming more and more lifelike. The guard's voice faded, but the hum of the headband only grew louder. Not as loud as the voices. He was surrounded. He was trapped. Help! No one can help you here. Another voice spoke through the image as the horde of hermits parted. A man wearing a midnight black cloak strolled through, his arms crossed, and a smile on his face. How? Impulse stammered. This is your punishment for disobeying an order. Gerald narrowed his eyes. Impulse couldn't move. He could hardly even breathe as the man approached. I told you that there would be consequences for your actions. So find out either way. And it wasn't all my fault, Impulse insisted. Gerald smiled. I've already sent Kyle to fetch McCrean. Conover and Richard want to see him as well. I have an invitation for you to come and watch when everything is ready. Impulse clenched his jaw. And what if Kyle doesn't succeed? Gerald tilted his head. It's a good thing we're building an army, isn't it? Dread washed over Impulse. The hermit shuddered as the door creaked open behind him, giving him a distraction enough to pull himself out of the horrible waking nightmare. He struggled to his feet as he turned. Hello? Frank blinked by the doorway, frowning. Do you mind if I come in? Of course I don't mind. Impulse shook his head. Echoes of his friends' voices whispered into his mind as he pushed them away. Your headband is glowing. Frank pointed at his forehead. I know. We just interrupted a punishment, Impulse said sourly. Frank paled. I'm sorry. Am I going to get in trouble? Why would you? Impulse asked. You just woke up from a long nap. Frank snorted. Yeah, you could say that. The boy crossed the room before taking a seat on the floor beside the cell, leaning back against the wall. Impulse took a seat on the wooden chair. Sure I'll be okay? I appreciate the company. And the break. Won't they notice? They already know. Impulse stared up at the ceiling. He didn't dare close his eyes. in case the guard tracked him back wearing a headband into a nightmare. Into the nightmare. How was Gerald there anyway? Was he wearing a headband too? Was that how his host managed to slip in when Impulse and Scar were practicing? He's trying to pull me back in. I hate it there. What did you see? The boy asked, turning his head to look at him. Gerald knows what I'm afraid of. Impulse sighed. I hate it when people accuse me of something I didn't do. Especially if the accusers are people I care about. Frank gave him a sympathetic nod. Yeah, that's rough. I know they're coming, that they're looking for me, but Gerald has it in his head that he can control me with this. Impulse gestured to the headband. He wants to break me like he tried to do with one of my friends. You won't let him? Frank gave him a smirk. Why would I? He's a murderer. He tried to kill me and my friends multiple times. His words mean nothing to me. Frank nodded. He seemed nice to me. Impulse smiled weakly. Because you're not one of us. One of us? A YouTuber, Impulse replied. Or someone who's loyal to Rose and believes that Stampy is innocent. Rose? Frank muttered thoughtfully. I've heard that name before. What do you remember? Impulse asked curiously. Tilted his head in the boy's direction, unsure if he heard a door slam in the distance. Someone coming. Dad's been telling me about home, Franklin said calmly. Excuse me. About what it was like. How he'd pushed me on the swing when I was little, and we nibbled on some watermelons he'd cut up for us on breaks. Where did he work? Impulse asked. I don't remember. Frank frowned. It's okay. It'll take some time. Impulse encouraged. You've been through a lot. I have? Frank blinked before he nodded. Yeah, I have. So, what brings you here? Frank Impulse queried. Dad's been weird. Frank shrugged. He won't let me have a moment to myself. It's like he's scared I'm going to run away or something. Maybe he did, Impulse said softly. Or he's afraid he'll lose you again. Again, Frank said plainly. He eyed the hermit warily. Why do you say it like that? Impulse swallowed as the headband began to hum louder as he fought against the gripping claws of the voices threatening to pull him under. Okay, I already know. Frank cut in, sitting up straighter. At least some of it. I died, didn't I? Impulse gulped. You remember that? The boy began to rub his temples gingerly. I remember there was screaming and pain. I remember my name being called and feeling afraid. There were men in black jumpsuits charging into the house. Safe house. You remember a safe house? Impulse gritted his teeth as the headband hummed louder, feeling sparks of electricity stabbing his forehead. Maybe you were an intern from Rose's school? Frank blinked. Maybe. Liam might know, Impulse suggested. He's one of Rose's nephews. Liam's a great teacher. He might have trained you. Maybe, Frank repeated, pondering. Impulse let out a weak groan. The boy turned his head, his eyes widening. What's happening? Are you okay? He does not want me to talk to you right now, Impulse groaned, stumbling to his feet as he stared at the door. You should hide. Hide? Frank blinked. Impulse nodded. They're coming. I'll tell them you left. Frank nodded, looking apprehensive as he got to his feet and hid behind the control panel, just as the door slammed open. Impulse yelped in pain, feeling his legs fall from right under him as he plummeted to the ground. Through bleary eyes, he could see three figures enter the room. He recognized Gerald and Campbell immediately. Struggling to sit up as the third man, a guard with a similar-looking headband, glowered at him. Impulse yelped again as he fell back onto his back. Gerald was definitely wearing another headband. His expression was cold and calculating. "Where's my son?" Campbell demanded, marching toward the cell. "What are you talking about?" Impulse stammered, hating how his body trembled as the guard opened his cell door. Gerald and Campbell slipped into the room. "I can handle it from here." Gerald waved off the guard. "I'll be back just in case." "That's fine, but I don't think we'll need it," Gerald said, as Campbell snatched Impulse, slamming him hard on the hardwood floor, knocking the wind out of him. "You were talking to my son no less than a minute ago." Anger flashed in the man's eyes. "Gerald told me everything." "I don't know what you mean," Impulse said through gasps of air. No doubt this man would be able to hear how hard his heart was racing. An intern came by to drop off food and left when I finished. "Liar!" Campbell snarled. "You're feeding my son lies, and I certainly won't have it." "You remember anyway, wouldn't he?" Impulse asked. "You really want him to see you as a liar? Lying to him about what really happened?" Campbell snarled at him, some spittle spraying on Impulse's face. The hermit didn't even flinch. "He'll believe what I want him to believe. This is a fresh start for the both of us." "Then why are you here?" Impulse asked. "I am a convicted felon because of you and your friends." Campbell sneered. "Where else would I go?" Impulse shrugged. "Maybe you shouldn't have poisoned the rivers or attacked villages." "You!" Campbell slammed the hermit on the floor again. Impulse groaned, blinking away the stars that danced in his vision. "I think it's best if I take it from here," Gerald offered calmly, putting a hand on the man's shoulder. "He's trying to turn my son against me," Campbell hissed, turning his dagger-like eyes to Gerald. "I already lost him once to that murder of a woman when she let him join that stupid cause of hers. The minute he chose her over me, I knew it was over. I'm not going to let that happen again." "We won't give him a choice," Gerald said simply. "He's not going anywhere." He pulled Campbell away from the hermit. "Besides, taking your anger out on him isn't going to help." Campbell's shoulders slumped, but his eyes slowly returned back to the hermit. Impulse sat up nervously. The headband hummed loudly, although fortunately it wasn't shocking him at the moment. "You're right. There are better ways of doing this," Campbell said quietly. "Do your worst." The man turned and walked out of the cell. Impulse's blood ran cold as he saw the grin form on Charles' face as the man slowly returned his gaze to him. "You're going to regret everything you've done in the last 24 hours when I'm done with you." Gerald knelt as Impulse tried to scramble back, wincing in pain as the headband shocked him again. "And if you do it again, I will make you watch as I torture your friend in front of you, and then tell everyone that it was all your fault." "They won't believe you," Impulse stammered. Scooting back, Gerald grabbed one of his wrists and pulled him closer. "Do you have that much faith in your friends?" The man jeered, his stormy gray eyes like pools looming over him. Impulse was drowning in the terror that flooded through the headband, the terror of countless prisoners before him, drowning in the fear that reared its head, fear he knew Gerald was amplifying through the headband. Can't trust them. Can't trust anyone. I'll keep you here for as long as it takes, until you see the truth of your crooked, twisted kind. We're not all monsters, Impulse whispered. We'll see what happens when Kyle returns. No, will we? What if he doesn't? Impulse challenged weakly. Gerald laughed, letting go of the hermit's wrist. He has a day to report back. Conover doesn't hear back. We move on to the next stage of our plan. What's that? Impulse gulped. Gerald shrugged. You'll see. He laughed again. The terrifying waking nightmare flooded back in full force. He barely felt his head hit the cold hardwood floor, barely heard the scream of pain as it collapsed, fully engulfed in the terrible nightmare. The nightmare he was afraid he'd never wake from. A nightmare he was afraid he'd never wake from. There was no escape here. Surrounded by people he cared about, all accusing him of something horrible he didn't do. And that is the end of that chapter. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Next week we'll be looking at chapter 26 and looking into Gem, which is, yeah. I'm going to do the Kyle interrogation. Yeah, the headband interrogation scene, which will be interesting. But, yeah, you'll have to wait until next week to find out. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys then. Or whenever you decide to come back. Whenever it might be. Goodbye.